Hello, you're listening to the Talk of Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo!
Today's episode is a mailbag episode. This is the first time we've ever done this. It should be a lot of fun. Don't run away if you don't have a question out there, because we'll probably just have a lot of fun discussion about our favorites of certain things, which always ends up coming from this kind of stuff, so yeah.
We have a mailbag?
Yes, it's like a digital mailbag, and stuff goes into it. I have to technically physically, because I have to touch the mouse. I have to myself put it all in the mailbag itself, but I'm like the courier.
We should print them out.
Because they all... No, we're not printing them out. I've seen videos where they do that. It's like this person's holding a piece of paper and it's got a tweet on it. I'm like, you can't have it on a screen for them. You have to print it out. Just so you know it's not doctored, we printed it out for you. Yeah, sure. No, it's like from our... email. A lot of it's from the email. We get getting a lot of questions through our email, which is fantastic. Any way that we can get them is fine. So yeah, through our email, andrew@talkofspirit.com, through the contact us button at thetalkofspirit.com, the forums. That's pretty much all the ways you guys can get it to us. But we've never done a mailbag episode, just mainly because we're always afraid of like using up the questions and not having questions for the discussionals. But when was the last time we really had a lot of time on our discussionals to do questions?
We end up going on random tangents and everybody feels, and
they're like, we're
scared that we're scared to push everybody back too far.
Yeah, and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to leave the questions for too long. So like I said, I'm being lazy this week and making a decent podcast episode. So I thought it'd be fun just to do our mailbag questions. So that's why we're here. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So hopefully your question gets answered. Watch, even though we have a mailbag episode, we only answered 2 questions. It can happen, but it could happen really quickly too. So I decided to put some good thought into several of them. So hopefully we have some good discussion out of them. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. So let's jump into it so we don't miss any. But before anything, I do want to say, unfortunately, Kentaro Miura, who of course is known for the Berserk series, has unfortunately passed away. I think they gave a good 2 weeks before they announced it. Probably just for the family and everything, but it's very unfortunate to learn that. I myself have gone out and bought all the Berserk series. I've watched all the animated series, including that horrible CGI version. But yeah, it's very. I think it's more than just Berserk, really, because Miura, his influence has been insane throughout the entire world. I mean, things like Dark Souls and stuff, Cloud Strife, there's so many places you can see his influence has really touched so many mediums across movies, other manga, other anime, games, art. It's insane. There's so many artists have been inspired by him, and it's really unfortunate to learn, not just for the fact that unfortunately Berserk will probably never... Well, I see Berserk really getting an ending. It will definitely not be... I wonder how that's going to work. I really do, because the actual companies that own the Berserk series of publishers are going to find somebody else to finish it. And I really hope somebody else was maybe under his wing that could possibly inspire what Miura wanted from it.
The only one that came to mind when I thought about this when you had first mentioned it was the only one who could possibly even come close to finishing his quote unquote masterpiece, if you want to call it that, would be Ginarabuchi. He's about the only one that I could see with a twisted mind enough to do it and do it with justice.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the idea of somebody that is near him that would know what he wanted in the end. Because, it may be that Miura wanted it to end positively and maybe from this point on go to a conclusion that's really kind of impactful. So it is kind of one of those things where you dread the reader in darkness for so long and then you bring him into light. And I'm sure that was probably his intent, but we never, unfortunately we'll never know. Hopefully, like I said, he has some kind of writing that was already put into play. He maybe had the script already wrote out and just was getting to the point of actually drawing it out, but it really sucks. It was a death that was quick and they didn't really see it coming. It's a very rare case that affected him, so it's really unfortunate. Like I said, just mainly because of his inspiration into the industry itself, and he will dearly be missed. Yeah. With that said, let's move on to the mailbags. I just want to make sure I didn't forget to mention that unfortunate turn of events recently. But yes, our first mailbag question is from Hank. Hank says, hey, I'm very glad to see the podcast come back. Sorry for the really long question last time. Do you think that's okay? I mean, whatever length we'll shorten it if we have to. We'll work with it. Because I'm very glad to say, do you think smaller companies really stand a chance against Funimation and Crunchyroll? High Dive was pretty limited catalog, although they have some high demand shows like Clannad, After Story, and original Higurashi. Also, what year do you think is the best year of anime, Hank? Yeah, I think we talked about this in detail since you've sent this question, just because it has been a hot button topic regarding the whole buyout. And of course, what we're seeing now is it looks like possibly they will not be able to get Crunchyroll just because they have extended the investigation on it. And that usually means that they're probably seeing that there is a monopoly that would be created from it. And that's really the kicker right there, is that not that the Justice Department saying that it could cause a monopoly is, confirmation of our thoughts on it, but more of a fact that if they see it, if the Justice Department can see it, just like we can see it, it technically gives a lot of merit in our thought process there, which is, yes, you have one big company that owns the two big hitters right now. Having anybody else in the industry, including Sentai Filmworks, which is High Dive, having, all these other small ones like Discotek and stuff like that, there really is no chance for them to get anime that's currently airing. Now, granted, only Sentai Filmworks and High Dive is the only other one besides maybe Amazon who gave up on it, and Netflix who buys their own stuff. Having any other company besides Crunchyroll, Funimation, Sony is just not going to really work out, just because they do bid this stuff, and that's kind of a difficult thing to get in there. Now, granted, there is some companies that own anime over in Japan that do work with specific companies mainly because they built relationships, but that was really a case for things like Crunchyroll and Funimation. I haven't really heard that kind of a case with something like Sentai Filmworks. So that, and I already see Sentai Filmworks moving away from current airing anime. I mean, the last time they got anything was Redo of Healer. Before then was like some shorts, mainly really ecchi stuff, like Why Are You Here, Teacher? They haven't really been picking up big stuff. And so I think they're already technically moving away from current airing anime and more so into picking up obscure titles that never got licensed over here from the past. Not so much that has to be stuff like in the 90s and the 80s of anime, but things that are like in the 2000s that just never... Because it was only like, 2010, 2012, where we started seeing all these companies pick up everything.
Yeah.
It was only very recently. And so there's a lot of titles out there that never got picked up for streaming. And I think they're going for those titles, which I think is fantastic, because it's kind of like that, no anime left behind kind of mentality. So it could be a good thing to have them pick up those titles. I mean, technically other companies like Discotek is doing stuff like that. So even then they have competition, but they may be also able to take certain titles that were maybe aired on or streamed on Crunchyroll, but never got dubs. That's another big spot for them. Because the thing is, like, the big benefit that I think Sentai Filmworks has right now is that they have a dub studio. So they can pick up those older stream titles and finally give them dubs that they need. And they're doing that, and I really do think that's a good move for them currently, is to just pick up older titles, dub them, and release them physically.
I'm one that I believe that it's impossible to have a natural, and I say this with big time quotes. It is impossible to have a natural monopoly. Now, because in some way, shape, or form, somebody will find a niche that has been missed and will be able to break the monopoly. The problem, however, is that natural monopoly thing. How does it become a natural monopoly? Basically that there's no outside influence that is causing it to become bigger than it actually is, i.e. a big company who has control over something else who has the ability to basically cheat the system. That is, and no, anime is not in this situation right now where like government pays some kind of an investment into a company to make them bigger unnaturally than they actually should be.
Or regulations that some companies not able to overcome.
Stuff like that.
Like a new mover in a town, and suddenly out of nowhere they get a message that says they have to get permission to compete.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Anime technically doesn't have that right now, but they do have outside influences, i.e., Sony. Sony has gaming. They've been into other technologies other than just gaming, and they're influencing the anime market right now. So that's why I say it's technically not a natural monopoly. So therein lies the biggest problem. They have a backer who has just an unnatural.
It's a money difference.
Yeah,
because the bid wars, obviously.
Right, and so
you can't expect Sentai Filmworks to come up there and say, hey, can we get the latest, My Hero Academia? And they're going to go, well, currently Crunchyroll's paying this much. Do you want to give us more than that? And they go, whoa, no, we can't afford that. We will go bankrupt if we try to get this one episode of My Hero Academia that Sony is able to afford.
Exactly. And so that's the issue that we're kind of bumping into. And this is kind of why we've been, or at least I have been speaking out against this the most. The other issue is that doesn't mean that somebody can't come up with a way around the system. And I believe that there is
Netflix technically did that.
Yes.
And they basically went in there and said, okay, we'll pay you to make something for us exclusively, essentially.
Right. And there is ways around it. The problem is that unfortunately, to have a technology that can compete against this, you have to have a backer of some sort as well. Therefore, causing the issue of an unnatural monopoly. It's not normal. So we're in a situation of, can it? Yes, theoretically. Is it feasible? No, not right now as it stands.
The other problem they have really is when they get into the bid war thing. Yes, technically, a scenario that can happen is, yes, if somehow this goes through and Sony does buy Crunchyroll, you could have at a point where them being the only competitor will leave room for something to sneak in. Because what could happen is that they could go, hey, we need to get the next season of My Hero Academia. I'm just using Academia as an example because I just recently watched it. And the studio's like, okay, cool. So the same cost, so we can expect this much. And they're like, nah, we're only gonna give you $100,000 this time per episode. But you gave us $250,000 last time. Yeah, but we're only gonna give $100,000 this time because they're the only competitor. Mm-hmm. Who else is gonna buy it? And they go, well, since you're the only buyer, okay. And then when the next season comes after that, that's when some random company comes around the corner and says, hey, yeah, we're launching a new streaming service over here in the US and we want to buy My Hero Academia. Do you have the next season available to bid for? And they're like, yeah, I mean, when last time we got $100,000 for it, sure, we'll get $150,000. Bam. They snuck in there because Sony, thinking that they can bring the price of how much they want to pay because they think they're the only person, allows it to come back down and then somebody can sneak in again. And then, of course, unfortunately at that point, sequential bids are going to go back up, but they lax and they give that opening available for them to kind of jump in there and grab it.
And this is what was interesting about watching it from our perspective over the course of the last couple of years, where we would notice little power moves that were happening in the background. Sunrise, when we pointed out Sunrise and a couple of other companies that were getting together to launch their own streaming service, and then the jump to YouTube for a little while that a lot of companies were doing. It was very interesting to see these power moves that were happening in the background, and we couldn't quite place what was going on. When the final announcement of, hey, Sony tried to purchase out Crunchyroll, it was like, now a lot of these moves made sense. Because a lot of these companies were like, we don't want to work with this guy or this guy. That's why they were exclusive to Crunchyroll, or they were exclusive to Funimation. They didn't like working with the other company. Now these two companies are together and they're kind of stuck. They either work with somebody that they don't much care for, or they don't get their stuff published.
Yeah, I heard I forget which company it was, but it was a while back. There was some show that was kind of in an odd placement, and there was some kind of leak that there was a little bit of bad blood between two companies, that they specifically went for another company despite how one was bigger. So I forget exactly which one it was, but yeah, the other, I guess the other short end of it with Sentai Filmworks is really a case of, I think I see them, especially with their streaming size, I see them kind of downsizing. They're already pretty much using VRV to stream a lot of their stuff, which is through Crunchyroll. But again, if that deal goes through with Sony, there's no doubt that Sentai Filmworks and HIDIVE will get kicked off of VRV, because I don't see Sentai or Sony really being, I guess, nice with them with that whole situation. I mean, they could extend their partnerships going forward, but it really did seem like that was already kind of happening, where they were just kicking them slowly out of the door. But I see them really kind of downsizing their streaming service, unless they see that things like Clannad and Higurashi being on their catalog, older titles being on their catalog, is enough to keep their streaming service going up. But I still see their physical goods being still profitable and something they can make a lot of money on. It's just going to be something where they're not going to be getting new stuff, I don't think, for quite a while. So, but like I said, they're already technically doing that, unless it's really, really obscure and an offensive content that other companies are afraid of at this point. Unfortunate, but yeah. Also, what do you think is your best year for anime? I had to bring up my old breakdown that I did. We did like an episode, is anime that bad, which is really technically is Anime Dying podcast that we did, and I don't know, I struggle between which years give me the most and what years are like just which years give me the most that I liked and which years gave me what I liked the most. Like 2011, technically we got Madoka Magica, Steins Gate, Anohana, Hanasaki Roha, which Hanasaki Roha is my favorite anime of all time. Tiger and Bunny, Bunny Drop, Future Diaries, Fate Zero. So you have Fate Zero and Hanasaki Roha alone are like in my top like 5 anime of all time. So
Madoka and Steins Gate are a couple
and they're
of my
like
favorites.
They're
Future Diaries I love.
There's so many legendaries. Like Tiger and Bunny, I haven't watched that, but that's a legendary title for a lot of people. And Madoka Magica and Steins Gate are technically like across the board beloved by the entire anime industry and world. So that technically is like the big hitters was 2011, but there's not many in 2011. And it's like when you get down to like, and again, this is what was the big topic for our Is Anime Dying or Is Really That Bad? Is we were hitting on the idea that every year we're getting so many more titles, so there's more chances of a title that just knocks it out of the park. And when we got to like 2016 and on, it's like these big, huge lists of like really incredible shows. Like 2016 technically had Erased, Konosuba, Grimgar, Fantasy Nash, Gate, Durarara, second season finally came out, Shogun Roku, Rakugo Shinju, which is, again, another one in our top favorite anime of all time, ReZero, Please Tell Me Gakko-chan, even like some obscure titles like that. Hero Academia first launched, Cabaneri the Iron Fortress, Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto, Tanaka-kun is Always Listless, Flying Witch, Ushio and Tora, second season, Mob Psycho 100, which was beloved for a lot of people, Real Life, Art Club Has a Problem, Yuri on Ice, March Comes Like a Lion launched that year, Sound Euphonium 2, which I argue is the better of the two seasons, Iron Blood Orphans was in that year as well. So it's like, over here technically is like the big hitter, or like so many titles, versus over here, which is like, again, like these legends and these titles that are technically in my greatest list of all time. So,
well, there's also the fact that as time goes on, some shows start to slowly wash out, and then the only ones that stand out are the ones that do stand the test of time. And so even as it doesn't necessarily mean that 2011 just it doesn't have other shows that are really good. It's just that those are the ones that have stood the test of time. And as it goes, more and more are the ones that are going to stand out.
Yeah, and we kind of, and like I said, in that podcast, we technically made the argument of things like, if you look back in, let's say, 2004, I only had Paranoia Agent, Monster, Elfen Lied, Samurai 7, and Beck. That was the only outstanding shows that I listed. What was the other reason because of that is that if you go look back in 2004, there was really only 16 anime titles that came out that year. So let's look again at 2016, where I had listed a whole crap ton of them. If you look at 2016, how many anime titles released then? It was probably upwards of 120.
Yeah, and that's something that we've been kind of talking about in the last year or two. That
you're going to get more crappy titles, but you're also going to get a lot of really great titles, more chance and more variety.
Right, and we were pointing out the fact that it's getting harder to keep up with these shows because there's just so many, and it's not. The more and more that we're having to focus more time on this, the harder it is to keep up with everything. And so we've naturally, even though we like to cover everything, we're having a hard time covering everything because there's just too many.
Yeah, and it's
I mean, 45 in just this season alone?
Yeah, it's really hard for them to get any lower than 30 anymore. Even when they had like the whole pandemic thing going on, it was like suddenly out of nowhere, oh, now we're only getting 30 titles. Like, we're thinking like everything's going to get delayed, and no, I think only like 3 things got delayed in the end. It's like, you guys are still killing me. Come on.
I mean, shoot, compared to what we were covering at the beginning when we first started the podcast, it was like,
it's great for us. It's great for us to get plenty to talk about. And then add on top of that doing videos, it's like, crap, dude, we're already on like episode 8 or something like that, and I'm already like, we're still doing first impressions for certain shows. But yeah, it's a lot to cover, and like I said, it technically leaves room for more really incredible shows to really jump out and grab you. So yeah, I would I don't know. I guess I'll give it 2011, but I can make a strong argument for 2016 because, like I said, looking at 2016, there's just so many, like Shogun Roku Shinju, Hiro Aka, Kabaneri. Like again, Mob Psycho 100, not my favorite, but I know it's beloved by a lot of people. March Comes in Like a Lion was huge. Iron Blood Orphan Season 2 technically was even more incredible than the first season, so yeah. But I do agree with you. Technically, ask me in 2029 if 2016 these are still outstanding titles, and I don't know what I would say. There's still an argument to be made of, do these technically wane off as shows that you really remember a lot about? Like I put Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto because all I can remember is that we absolutely could not understand why that show was so incredible. Every punchline of having him jump out and just do something like really stylish, and you're like, they did it again. The punchline keeps working every time they do the same stupid punchline. But yeah. But that's the great thing, is to know that there's so many incredible years is also, there's no losers there. We get so many great titles and lots to talk about. So
yeah. But Witch Hunter Robin, that alone makes 2002. And then we got Chobits.
And Azumanga Daioh. Azumanga Daioh, that's one of the best comedies out there too. So yeah, 98 just for Cowboy Bebop and Serial Experiments Lane. 97 for Berserk. There you go.
96 for Kenshin.
That's unfortunately one of those ones where I kind of want.
Is that the original or the?
It would be the original.
Yeah. We don't know that was
talking about the other one, the Kyoto
Samurai
one?
X, wasn't it?
Right, I think it was renamed.
Yeah, Kenshin was the funner one. I like that.
Yeah.
With the reverse blade.
Good stuff though. Good stuff. Let's see. Said, P.S. I don't use Twitter, so I didn't see any updates on the podcast. I was relieved to see a new episode pop up in December 18th. I'm really thankful you guys were able to continue making this show. I think he sent this like right when I was doing my move down there in Cali. So I'm sorry that we didn't make a podcast episode to announce that I probably should have, because I do know we have a lot of people that's the thing. It's like even when I'm doing the YouTube stuff, it's like I have to keep reminding myself that. Like, each one of these things are such separate things. Like, podcast is so niche to just podcasting listeners. Twitter is just, yes, it's really huge, but it's still technically only certain people use it. And then YouTube, people that use YouTube often don't do podcasts, and podcasters don't do YouTube. It's weird that so many things are so popular, yet they're so divided with their viewership and listenership. So, thanks for continuing to listen to us, Hank, even though we were... looking like we stopped. I'm sorry. Next one we have is Nav Australia. Says, hi, Andrew and Chris. Been listening for a couple years. Love the positivity and the good stuff and all that good stuff. Anyway, I have watched most of the good anime out there. Since Season 4 of Attack on Titan coming out, I saved myself for Attack on Titan and went in blind. I avoided every single spoiler. Good on you.
So far, I have too. So,
yeah, but he like literally waited the entire thing.
I need to hurry up and finish that show.
I binge watched all of the seasons in 1 week. Dang, that's crazy.
You're more hardcore than me.
What are they on, like 70 or so episodes now? That's crazy. Anyways, oh my god, this might be one of the few animes which makes sense from beginning to the current arc. After listening to your thoughts on the podcast, Chris wanted to know, how was the reveals? Everything was a total surprise, except I figured everything out when the Beast Titan threw rocks in a baseball stance. Then I'm like, oh, there's an advanced society out there, so the reveal on the basement was a little bit of a damper. Spoilers. Damn basement. Oh man, I remember that when that was a joke that we kept going on. Like, oh, it's still gotta get to the basement. Oh, they dragged that out so long. My question is, I've seen all the popular anime till 2012 to 2020. My taste resemble mostly with Andrew. I'm planning to watch Monster and Death Note. What else do you suggest in terms of anime of 2000 to 2010? Why not 2012? Do you not like 2011 and 2012? Anyways, because I wasn't into anime at the time. Let's see. I don't know. I thankfully have a list over here that I made for another podcast. This list is becoming very useful. 2000 to 2010. Let's see. We have in my list Azumanga Daioh. That's definitely a must. Chris would probably suggest Chobits, but it's a little on the ecchi side, so keep that in mind.
Witch Hunter Robin should work for you really well, because that is a mix of kind of more darker and
Sentai Filmworks has it? Because somebody was going to do a release of it again. We were waiting for the Blu-ray because they did a DVD release. I think it was Sentai Filmworks. It may have been Funimation.
Please hurry up with that. That is such a gorgeous anime. And
it has such great style. Like, I love the setting and the style of it. Like, their jacket and everything. I loved it to death. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex was pretty awesome. Definitely suggest
Wolf's
that
Rain
one.
Wolf's Rain
would probably work. Wolf's Rain has a ending, but yes, it's a pretty incredible show. Plus, it has one of the best openings ever.
True.
Stray. The original Kino's Journey is fantastic. If you've watched any of the Kino's Journeys since then, it's some incredible stories in there as well. It's very segmented stories. I would recommend Gunslinger Girls. I pause on suggesting the sequel unless you really loved Gunslinger Girl. But Gunslinger Girl is fantastic because it kind of hits on the whole idea of the child soldier thing, but in a really interesting way. Like I said, the sequel, I would pause in suggesting it unless you really, really end up loving Gunslinger Girl, because it's not as good. But if you really love it, you're probably going to like something about it. Obviously, Full Metal Alchemist, that's definitely an easy. You have to go watch that. My personal opinion, you're going to find a lot of different opinions on this. My personal opinion, watch the original Full Metal Alchemist. You might be able to find somebody out there that can tell you where to stop, where they basically go anime original. Try to find somebody that can give you a clear answer on that. I'm sure there's plenty out there you can find, but watch the original up to the point where it goes anime original, and then watch Brotherhood, because the Brotherhood opens up with them going, essentially, hey, all this stuff happened, right? Let's continue. So it basically takes off from that point of the anime original. So you're going to miss all this other stuff that was before that I think is unfortunate to have kind of on a whim. Yeah, this stuff kind of happened. Haha, let's go continue on kind of thing in the beginning of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So I kind of wish that they did like a full remake, but it is what it is. Paranoia Agent's fantastic. I think Funimation recently picked that one up, and I really want to rewatch it. You obviously already have Monster on there. I hesitate on Elfen Lied. You said you like my taste more, and I did like Elfen Lied because it's very twisted. But it's not a fun show. It definitely gets pretty brutal, so keep that in mind. I loved Samurai 7, especially the later parts of it. So I definitely recommend that.
It's so funny because Elfen Lied is one of those that whenever I see clips of it, it's always this, oh, hey, that looks interesting. What show is this? Elfen Lied? Oh, no, I know I don't want to watch that.
Because it has like, it's so weird. And looking back on it, it's like, it's so weird. It's such a weird monstrosity because it's got like that whole like moe ecchi stuff all over the place. And oh, this girl's so cutesy. And then like the next scene, it's suddenly, oh, she just lopped off a head. That person's dead. Okay, that's what I'm watching. Oh, that girl just lost all of her limbs and now she's, flailing around the ground. This is fun. Oh, that backstory. Beck Mongolian Chop Squad is a must. That is a slice of life musical band episode show, and it was really good. Really love it to death. I really want to rewatch it. See, Air TV is a given. That's one of my favorites of anime of all time. It is very cutesy, moe, key stuff. So if you like things like Clannad and stuff, you'll probably like that one. And it is probably easily one of the only anime out there that had me bawling. Like literally, I can't stop the tears from falling. I really want to rewatch it too. That beach scene, oh, hurts. I haven't watched Hunting Clover, but that's supposed to be a huge one. That was in 2005. Mushishi's a given. If you've ever watched any of Mushishi, I love Mushishi to death. It is essentially the whole thing about a person that travels around and solves, basically, it's like a yokai thing, but it's Mushi, and Mushi are these things that affect things around them. And so he's basically helping people figure out why they're afflicted with something. Oh, it's because of Mushi. Let's fix it.
I can highly suggest Mushishi as well.
Blood Plus, I don't remember much about it, but I remember liking it, but I'm not sure if I can suggest it because I don't remember much of it. I gotta get back to Suzumiya Haruhi, but that was in 2006. You already had Higurashi mentioned, right? Higurashi's a huge one. I haven't watched the new one yet. I'm waiting for the full thing to come out before I can suggest that, but Higurashi's just straight up torture stuff with a really cool ending to it that I liked, so. I haven't really watched much of Ouran Host Club, but I've heard that's good. I haven't watched Nana yet, but I've heard that's really good. And I think Sentai just picked that one up. I think, yeah. Utawara Mono. Do you think that one aged well? I mean, we love it because it was like such a show that we fell in love with back in the day, but I look back on it and I wonder if it's still good.
Well, when we rewatched it, I mean, we were able to appreciate it, but I don't know how much of that was nostalgia or if it was just because it's
got a good story to it.
Yes, but it also gets.
I think a lot of people don't like the ending.
Yeah, it gets a little bit.
It's a little bit too big for its britches at the end.
Yeah, it gets a little bit out of sorts towards the end, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that they don't cover it well, and then they try to explain, or it explains out a little bit better in the newer versions. Yes and no.
I didn't like the newer versions.
I know the new. I know I think that it explained it better.
Yeah, because Utawara Mono, the original, was a lot about this uprise of this unknown, this person that shows up at this village that they save, and he doesn't have any memory, but he ends up, in order to protect the people that just saved his life, he basically rises and makes an army. And yeah, like I said, that was the goal. That was a great story, seeing them rise up against the nations. But it's the later part that gets really muddled. And yeah, I do agree with that. Later part is better explained in the sequel stuff. The sequel stuff is more focused on the cutesy stuff and then less about the, political risings and the wars that were going on. So
I'm going to say no, just based on the fact that it'll scratch more of the cutesy itch more than it will do the kind of more darker tone stories that I'm thinking that this person's hunting for.
Yeah, if you're looking for political war, military stuff like that, I think you'll like the original Utoimonno. Plus, cute animal girls is always another plus. Let's see.
Code Geass.
Gintama, I haven't gone back to that one yet, but I really want to. Welcome NHK, I need to finish that one, but I was loving it as far as I got into it. Code Geass is huge. I would say Code Geass, the first and second season, I haven't watched any of the new stuff, but I really love the original 2 seasons, so I definitely can recommend that one. Very much like Death Note meets Mecha War, which that same year Death Note came out as well, and I'm pretty sure you probably watched that one, but that was in that time frame as well. So that's definitely a suggestion. Canon, I have to go rewatch that one. I don't know if that one... I did bawl my eyes out watching that a long time ago, but I don't remember much about it, and that scares me. I mean, I still remember the toast stuff. Every morning they wake up and the mom offers her special toast jam. But I don't remember much about the rest of it, and that kind of concerns me if it was as impactful as it was, but I do remember being pretty emotional. Again, that's a key one, so if you like key, you'll probably watch that one anyways. Claymore... I mean, I love the anime enough that I went out and bought the entire manga box set. So that tells you something. But in lieu of reading, is that the right way to say it? In retrospect, after reading the manga, I kind of don't like the anime just because of how they anime originaled it and what they had ahead of it that they could have gotten into that would have been so incredible. So I do recommend it, especially if you watched any Berserk, because again, this is another one that's technically inspired by Berserk. It is incredible, and I really do love it. If anything, you can watch the anime just to get you to go buy the box set, which like I did. I think it's really cool, demon hunting kind of stuff with awesome. The backstory is so good, and they did the backstory justice. So yeah, I suggest it. Definitely watch Claymore. That's incredible. Dark and the Black's hard for me to suggest because, again, another one that I look back, I don't remember much about, but I did enjoy it at the time. Gurren Lagann, I cannot seem to get into, even though everybody loves it, but that's a... I guess if you resemble my taste, you might struggle with it too, but yeah, it's one that I keep trying.
Isn't that the one that's spawned Trigger?
It technically put him on the map, yeah.
Well, they weren't Trigger when they made that. Because I think that Gurren Lagann is...
Trigger?
Was Gurren Lagann before Trigger or after Trigger?
True. I mean, it is.
I thought it was the
Trigger,
team.
So.
I thought it was the team that did or that became Trigger.
Gainax. Never mind. That's right. You're right. Sorry.
So that was Trigger before it was Trigger.
But yeah, I can't seem to get into it. There's no matter how many times I try. Lucky Star's a really fun, cutesy comedy, which is definitely a legendary title out there. I should probably go faster on this. It's going to take forever to get through all these.
Dinocoil,
I really enjoyed.
I need to get back and finish watching that.
Augmented reality, really cool stuff.
That is, I want to say
more than that.
Is Dinocoil the predecessor to Sword Art Online, or
has nothing to do with Sword Art Online? Sword Art Online was the writer eventually went out to make what was it called? People are yelling right now.
That's the one with the pig boy.
Yeah, the pig boy and the chick. Excel World?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. I thought maybe Dinocoil was tied into that group as well.
No. It was the same writer did Excel World, and Excel World was technically like a same universe, but it was augmented reality rather than VR, so.
All right.
And they speed up their brains so fast they could see this world that nobody else could see. And Big Boy. Yeah, Bacano is incredible, especially if you watch any of the Dudadada series. Bacano is incredible. I really do want to get to reading the manga on that one so I can see more. I think it's a manga. I think it's based off a manga. But yeah. Zetsuba Sensei. Where the heck is that? We heard that like Nozomi Entertainment or Right Stuff had licensed that. Where the heck is that series? I've been waiting for that. Zetsuba Sensei is a great comedy. It very much likes to play in the dark comedy stuff. But yeah, just to give you a taste of it, it opens up with a guy that was a teacher that is unfortunately trying to end his existence by rope. And this student comes across him and jumps up and grabs him and says, "No, you can't do this. Don't do this." And is, of course, pulling him down onto it. He gets loose and then yells at her, "What are you doing? Trying to kill me?" It is crazy.
Isn't
wacky.
Zetsubo loosely translated as melancholy?
No, Zetsuba is like despair.
Despair.
Because he always says that he's in despair. That's his tagline is, "I'm in despair." Every time something... And that's another Shaft one that a lot of people don't recognize as being Shaft, and it's a very early one for them. And so it definitely has their styling as well. So if you like Shaft stuff, you'll definitely find it there. So yeah, that one's incredible, and I cannot wait to rewatch it again. If somebody will release it already, thanks for saving the license, but come on. I think that, of course, that was like a year ago, and that was like during the whole bad stuff happening. So yeah, of course, Clannad's in that time frame as well. Definitely need to go watch that one. Effatella Memories and Melodies, I haven't gone back and watched that again, and it's been so long that I don't remember really much about that. Spice and Wolf, go watch it, then go buy the light novel. That's definitely a must. We're in 2008. We're almost done, people. Hold on. There's Kogiya's second season. Natsume's Book of Friend. Please go watch all that series. I love it to death. It's one of my favorites of all time. Toradora is a must if you like the tsundere rom-coms. That's Ryukijimiya's golden goose right there, basically. Let's see. K-On! Cutesy fun moe stuff. Love them to death. Eden of the East, I definitely recommend. That's probably another one that's specifically Andrew taste. Very cool series that I really did enjoy. Monogatari, of course, that series is a easy suggestion. All the Monogatari series, you should be watching all that. And that pretty much kicked off in that time period, so you may have missed it. Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 is a pretty awesome series. I did enjoy it a lot. Essentially, as you can tell, it's about a Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 and a girl trying to survive with her brother. Chris, Kimi no Todoroki?
Kimi ni Todoroki, but that's a
Chris
very very rom-com-esque. It's one that I'm going to at some point drag Andrew into watching.
I went and bought the series just to make myself watch it, and never did. See, of course, launched in 2010. Again, I'm going based on 2010 as well. Katana Gatari, somebody needs to pick up the stinking title if you can find it somewhere. It is another Nishio-Isen title, and it is absolutely incredible. Beautiful show.
A very, very awesome show.
Let's see. What else? I think that's it. 2010. If you want 2011, 2012, these are quick. Again, Madoka Magica, Steins Gate, Anohana, Hanasaki Roha, my favorite anime of all time, Hanasaki Roha. Bunny Drop, Fate Zero. We got Space Brother. I've heard a lot of good things about it. We haven't got a chance to watch it yet. That came out in 2012. Kokoro Connect 2012 is incredible as well. I love it to death. From the New World, must. Little Busters if you like key stuff. So there you go. Okay, that didn't take forever to go through. I'm sorry. Hopefully you're pausing and writing down as you went along. I might have to make it available elsewhere. I'll just reply to your email with the list. But yeah. Hopefully that works out for you. But let's see what else he has in here. Nav Australia also says... Also, my top animes would be Code Geass. Okay, there you go. Hunter, X Hunter. We still got to watch that one. I'm sorry. Please don't send us hate. The moment I said that, I realized we're going to get hate emails. And Attack on Titan.
We have to finish up our fairy tale cast. Then we can start doing the Hunter.
We have a lot of emails about that. So many emails about that.
It's coming, guys. It is. Things happened.
He says, my guilty pleasure would be Nisekoi. I know it has a lot of flaws, but the colors and anime and the characters make up for it. I agree, the style was very interesting.
There's nothing wrong with Nisekoi.
Well, that was the thing, is like Chris was the one that finished Nisekoi, not me. I do want to get back to it, but I think that's one of those ones where now that I know that it hasn't really ever gotten another adaptation, I kind of just want to just go read the source material, because like, why bother with the anime?
That's true.
But like you said, they had a great style to it. I think that was another Shaft.
Yeah, it was Shaft.
So.
It was that was Shaft.
So, P.S. Rem is best girl, obviously. You're a man of culture. Andrew's best boy. Sorry, Chris, but I love you too.
Hey, I'm a little biased, but I think Andrew's best boy as well. He's my cute little Ototo.
Aww. Bless you. Best wishes from Melbourne, Australia. Man, we love Australians. We've like ran into so many Australians on the internet, and they're always fantastic people. So thanks so much for listening to us. Really appreciate the kind words as well. It definitely means a lot to us. You pretty much pointing out the fact that you love the positivity and all that good stuff is exactly why we do what we do, and it's why we have so many great listeners. We have Emma Elizabeth Lutt says, hello, I love your podcast so much. I was thinking if you could consider reviewing the following animes. Psyche K, I love this anime so much because of the hilarious jokes and unique storylines, and each character has its own story and background. Justice! Yes, we watched that one.
Yes, we technically, I think we
reviewed the first season.
We reviewed the first season,
and
the
then
second season wasn't available.
Yeah. Yeah, we've watched the first season, and then it went Netflix. We will eventually get back to it because we loved the first season so much. It was, well, I mean, it's got the voice of Araragi, and all the characters are fantastic. Like every single one of them are fantastic, and I love them so much. So yeah, it's an eventual, but yeah, you can go check out. We do have a review for Psyche K out there somewhere. If you go to the otakuspirit.com, up at the top there is a review button. Click on S, or is it? It would be under D. It might be under D or it might be under S for Disastrous or Psyche K. Or you can just search for Psyche K. But we do have like a podcast where we reviewed the original season. So that'll give you at least something. And Violet Evergarden.
Spoiler alert. We loved it.
Yeah. If you want to say the trouble of actually listening to us talk about it. But yeah, Violet Evergarden we've done as well. He said Violet Evergarden, the story is really interesting and cute. The art style is the most beautiful I have ever seen. Ooh. Yeah. Violet Evergarden. That was unfortunately one of those ones that was, again, another Netflix hold, but it was one of those ones where it was like, this is KyoAni, we have to watch this. So we went and watched it the moment it came out. Thankfully, it came out at the end of the season, so we were able to review it and put it in our seasonal podcast for that one. But yeah, again, another spoiler. We thought it was incredible, which was great because that was an interesting one because at the time that it was releasing in like Europe and Japan, there was a lot of people covering it either in Europe or just pirating it. And everybody was saying this is not a good show. And so I was actually dreading it. Like of course, no, I don't think I was dreading it because I think at the time we were just getting fresh off that mentality of we're different. we had to come to grips that me and Chris are not like everybody else. This is like at the point in which we've had so many times where, other groups or whatever want to ask us our opinion on what we think are like the best of the year. And everybody's like, what's an onihei? That's our famous laughable quote there is, what's an onihei? Hearing somebody else say that as we're trying to, chime about this certain show. So we're getting fresh off the idea that, we technically ever come to grips that we are not everybody else's taste and we love things that other people hate. And Violet Evergarden, we kind of assumed that was going to be another case of it. And sure enough, when we finally got to watch it, we loved it. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh, so freaking beautiful. Like you said, it is an absolutely beautiful show. I cannot wait to own it.
Well, Onihei wasn't the only one. Sound of a Silent Voice was another one. It was like, no, you guys have to cover this show. You guys are going to end up missing out on it. And it's like when they finally started talking about it, it was like, well, what is this? Huh?
Silent Voice.
Silent Voice, yeah. I had suggested that to another podcast, and they were like, well, they acted like they had never heard of it, and it was like, how do you guys?
Are you sure you're talking about the one with the deaf girl?
The deaf girl, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Somebody didn't know about that?
Mm-hmm. I said I warned them. I said, you guys need to cover this, and they, when it came down to it, it was like, well, yeah, you guys missed out on a big one. And
Well, that was like Shogun Roku Rakushinju. It was like nobody was listening on that one. It was like it wasn't until like later in the season, like when it was, no, I think it was like in season 2 that finally people started talking about it. And I was like, holy crap, thank you. Like I don't care to jump in there and go, hey, we've seen it first. It was more of a thing of like, yes, we want people to hear about this.
Yes.
It's not that we care about, that we were the first to check it out. It's just that more of a thing of we want people to check this out. That's what we do, is try to get this stuff and then try to see if we can get an echo of it. Get people to hear about it. Get people to check it out. That's like why I keep barking loud as heck about Super Cub right now. Nobody's talking about it, so I'm like, people, Super Cub, Super Cub. I do a cutest character, Super Cub. Go watch Super Cub. Because nobody's... And again, I don't see Super Cub being a show that a lot of people are going to love. It's you have to be in the right mind frame for a Super Cub. And when you're in the right mind frame for a Super Cub, where you're not just looking for a crazy action show, Super Cub is like, you can't help but love it.
Just on the technicalities in itself, it is such a phenomenally directed show. Yeah. I mean, that alone should make some people...
It is one of those ones where you want to keep an eye on the director.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Is like, I know that there's a lot of these people who do the talking about these shows. A lot of them get stuck on certain things, and it's like, okay, I get that they don't have time. I mean, we focus a lot of our time on doing these shows. So I know that a lot of these quote unquote big names that are out there that are talking about these shows, they were already focusing their time on other things. And so they don't have as much time as we are focusing on this to do this. So at least if they are aware of some of these shows, they can at least cover these shows. And these are shows that deserve to be covered.
Yeah, unfortunately right now, a lot of attention's on My Hero Academia. Which is fine. I love it. Every time I watch it, I get hyped up. And like Hero Academia is the only one that I can watch a stupid tournament show and I'm invested. Like they're literally doing a tournament right now. And it's like, but I'm still enjoying it. Even though at the end of each episode, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just a tournament episode. Well, that was the thing, is Hero Academia always like has something going on like a tournament, but then something like big happens that messes it up. And then you're like, crap, this is happening. Oh my gosh. And then, but not this one, not so far anyways. Like, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for like a bad guy to show up.
It's only a matter of time. I'm 2 episodes behind, and I know that it's going to happen at some point because they've got a new quote unquote main character or main cast member, and it's, well, yeah, then we got the new bad that's hanging out in the background. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Anyway, what was the question? Yeah, Violet Evergarden, we do have a review for that one as well. Again, go to tacospirit.com, click on review button, then look at V. You'll find it. So, but yeah, spoiler, we really loved it. But yeah, thanks, Emma. Says best wishes, future anime otaku. Thank you so much. Thanks for the question too. We have Otaku 12034 says, my question is, what your favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner foods? Breakfast, I'll go with sausage egg English muffin sandwich. I don't want to say McMuffin, but it's basically McMuffin.
That's who started it.
Lunch, I think it's just English muffin or something like that. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's hard not to say McMuffin. For lunch, I don't know. I don't usually eat lunch. If I do eat lunch, it's like you should like throw out the corn dog or something like that.
Well, I'm gonna cheat and say pastrami.
Like, what is designated as a lunch? Is like a bologna sandwich or something?
That's why I said I'm gonna cheat and say pastrami. A pastrami sandwich.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm skipping that one.
That's what I got it when I was in high school. That's when I got my love for pastrami, because I had them all the time and had
dinner. I always enjoy breakfast for dinner. Like that's like a guilty pleasure of mine, is having breakfast for dinner, because like because technically when you're eating breakfast, your belly is not usually doesn't want to consume as much. So it's nice when you're dinner because your belly will take in more, so you're able to eat more breakfast. But no, but my favorite food is technically shrimp. So anything shrimp in dinners is good for me.
Mine technically is lasagna.
And dessert cheesecake.
You just cheated. You just wanted to say cheese. He didn't say anything about dessert.
I think they just accidentally deleted that part. I'm just helping him out. Dessert cheesecake.
Cheesecake's a pretty safe one. But yeah, lasagna is my main dinner, favorite dinner. But yeah, I guess if I'm trying to be different than Andrew because I love my cheesecake as well. I just love cheese.
Still
in
my
general.
idea.
I'm big time on cheese. So, but yeah, if I was going counterculture against Andrew, I'd probably say German chocolate cake ish.
Yeah.
Red velvet cake. Those kinds of things.
Anything fluffy cake, I'm not a fan of. That's the weird thing. I don't know why. I never really care much for fluffy cake. Like I have to have it. It has to be something more dense or something.
When I would go to a birthday party, I'd always get a whole bunch of ice cream. I'm going ice cream rather than cake.
Now fudge with ice cream is an easy second for me. A nice fudge cake with
You mean brownie or
brownie with some fudge cream in there is good too. Heat it up with a drop of ice cream on top of it. It's really good. It's really good. But I used to be big on angel food cake with strawberries as well. But I kind of left that behind. Got tired of it. because our mother every time I had a birthday, she's like, "Here's your angel food cake."
Has anybody ever given you a real strawberry shortcake?
I don't think so. No.
Oh my gosh, that was the worst thing I ever did, and it was like, no, I'm never doing this again. It's angel food cake and only angel food cake, because it's practically a biscuit.
Yeah,
it's like this is not strawberry shortcake. What are you doing? Now I'm sure that we're gonna get a hate mail of that is real shortcake.
No, I think somebody at my work gave me one at one time.
Yeah. With a biscuit instead of a.
No, it was a loaf.
Was it loaf?
I think it was a loaf.
It was not the angel food cake. I was like, this is crazy.
Taku 12034 says, look forward to more podcasts. Thank you so much for the support and for listening to us. Definitely appreciate it. We have bacon chips so that there we go again.
We're getting attacked by the dark web again.
I have to do another virus scan. Dang it. What do you want? Bacon chips, anonymous, or is your name really bacon chips?
It's XXX bacon.
No,
chips,
I'm wondering if it's
XXX.
not really bacon chips, but it's somebody else posing as bacon chips because they know that we trust bacon chips, so they're using this as a way to get in here.
Oh, okay. So
because if it was just Billy of the dark web, we probably wouldn't click on the email.
Well, you may want to have Bacon Chips go ahead and virus scan himself because somebody might be using his account.
That's true. Says bois ha 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 ha.
It's 11:37.
Ha 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 ha. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure you get it all in there.
Oh, and you got it under a minute.
Here's a very spooky. Was that the lady that was doing the Ghost Tokyo? Spooky. That was cute. Question from the dark web. What are the best horror animes besides Higurashi? Ooh. It's like I think he's saying something in Ultima Online when you're dead.
Everybody goes crazy about Shiki, and that's one that I've started. I want to catch up on, finish up
that one, yeah.
And what was the other one? The Umbrella Lady.
The Umbrella Lady.
The Umbrella.
Yamishibai?
No, where she falls off the stairs and the umbrella impales her.
Oh, yeah, that one. That would be the Umbrella Lady. The one they use for all the Moe gifts. The Moe gifts and the Umbrella Lady. That's what that show is now. Oh yeah, and also the cake faceplant elevator scene. Those are all the memes from that show. Why can I not remember it?
It's right there on the tip of my tongue. Another
That was like one of the few PA Works horror shows they ever did. Have a studio that's really fantastic at moe stuff. Make a dark.
Those are the
dark
mainstays that everybody talks about when you talk about horror shows. So
yeah, another is definitely a suggestion from me. I think it's great because another pulls off like suspense really well. The tone, the music, and everything pulls off that suspense really well. Even though, yes, it's really well known for the over-the-top death scenes that everybody gifsifies everywhere. Other than that, let's see. Horror specifically is very difficult to really place, but
and we've talked about this before in our
Gyo. I would suggest the manga, but Gyo, the movie, was pretty crazy as well. I mean, walking shark, dude. Gershunk. Gershunk. The door sound makes when a shark busts through it, obviously, is Gershunk. But no, we mentioned before, but Kagewane is probably easily one of the ones that people miss the most. Not the second season so much, because the second season gets a little bit stupid. But the first season, yes, it is not an incredibly animated show, but it is, again, another one that pulls off suspense. Like, anime doesn't pull off suspense very well, but that one just pulled it off. It's basically like a shorts about these different monsters or supernatural monsters that attack people, and it's really cool.
And we've talked about Yami Shibai quite a few times, and that's a long running, but it's a short as well. The thing is, and we talked about this in our horror episode, where they do things horror related differently than we do. We're more into quote unquote the jump scares. They're more into the suspense thing. So they literally look at horror completely different than we do. I
would agree and disagree, because there's it seems like they show too much too quickly and they break suspense, because they're not about, I think I remember seeing something about them not being too keen on jump scares. They don't like to do jump scares. Or I don't know if it's just because it's something that's frowned upon them doing, or if it's just a case of them just not really seeing horror the same way we do. But yeah, a lot of it's kind of left in suspense, like what could actually happen. So that's why I have more thrillers than horror in when we did our list. I had more thrillers and horrors because it's more about the context of it than anything else. But yeah, I think that's really all the big horror ones that I would really suggest. Other than that, I have a lot of thriller ones that I would really suggest. Other than that, so thrillers like Perfect Blue. The other one by Paranoia Agent. anything by that creator is going to be like the best thrillers possible. So, but yeah, I don't. I think the sad thing is that I don't really think that Japan does horror good. Unfortunately, I mean, yes, there's the shock value of things like Higurashi and stuff like that, but I just don't really. Most of their horror is not really that good. But that's just like romance. It doesn't click for me very well, and I think that's really just a kind of a social differences, I guess.
Because you want them to get over with the get it over with. You just either you're in love or you're not in love. Stop with the will they won't they thing.
I thought you were talking about horror. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Get it over with already.
Kill them already. That's a lot of my thing. The reason why I don't like watching a lot of the crap that they've been doing lately is because I just get it over with. Don't
communicate.
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 Now I'm actually talking about the horror thing.
Oh yeah, Berserk is technically horror. Later on. Yes.
Stop torturing the person and finish it.
You just kill him. Just kill him already. Just face plant in the cake already. Dang it. Anyways, yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. I wish I had more to give you. I don't. Let's see here. Slime007 on the forums chimes in and says, "Hello. My first question stems from the way the current anime industry is heading. There are few home media sales and there's fewer home media sales and seems to be declining business. Do you think Sentai could survive for a few more years just doing home media and without getting the most new seasonal licenses?" I think this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where I think that if anything, they're just going to have to downsize, because we already kind of know that this industry actually works with smaller releases, with things like Anime Ego, Discotheque Media, but I think that those groups are. I'd have to look at their actual business size, but I would assume that they're probably smaller. And that's the unfortunate thing, because that means downsizing, and downsizing is never a good thing for anybody. But yeah, they can all survive. It just, you have to downsize. And downsizing means less, and downsizing means fewer releases, but it is an option that they do have.
I think that if any of these companies can figure out, the biggest problem right now is made to order. That is the thing that's going to revolutionize this industry big time. Yes, bootstrapping and getting through the next few years, because eventually I do foresee the physical market coming back in a different way. Right now, it may look like home series or physical releases are the kind of, I'm not going to say the loss of revenue stream. They're just not they're not as big as it really is. And I know I'm not sounding right when it comes down to it. Physical is a collector's market, and all of them will want the ability to cash in on that market. That's the problem. It's those shows that can break through the mold, that, like the Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is different than No Game No Life. I love No Game No Life. Johnny loves No Game No Life, but that's not compounded across all of the market. So the ones who actually want to collect one specific series is very niche in comparison to the bigger market, which would be Dragon Ball Z. Everybody wants a copy of Dragon Ball Z. So that's why the one who can figure out the made to order market is the one who's going to win when all is said and done. And that's always been the problem with this particular medium. It's not like Game of Thrones, where a guaranteed, well, even Game of Thrones, it's one of those weird things. And maybe this is something you can chime in on, is there's a difference between a niche market on something and hitting that big special thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the problem that Sentai Filmworks has in general, and that's what I mean with the idea of downsizing is at some point they have to, unless the titles are extremely cheap or they're bundles. I've heard comments about certain groups will require them to, if you want to license this one, you have to license this show. And I can see that being a problem, but in most cases, you do have to realize, I mean, it doesn't really hit me until like holiday sales, where I realized, like, holy crap, Sentai Filmworks, you have a lot of crap. Like, you have a lot of really obscure titles that I have literally never heard of. And they're titles that were, they maybe came out in 2008 or something like that, and maybe didn't even get streaming, because again, back then streaming wasn't really like full on legal at the time. But they have a lot of junk, and not to say that they don't deserve to have physical releases, because I bought a lot of them. I bought a lot of titles where it was like, oh, there's $2. It's a show I've never heard of. I'm buying it. So there is an aspect of that, but that doesn't make them money.
Right.
A bunch of people on a holiday sale going, crap, I need an extra $2 in my cart to make free shipping. I'll buy this title. That $2 doesn't make them money. It makes them money when they sell a thing at full price, $60. And I think right now Sentai Filmworks is trying to hit heavy on the collector side of things, because they're doing the what they call them, the metal jacket stuff,
Steelbox.
Steelbox. And I don't know. It's a direction I personally don't like because it's essentially them going back to biting the same hole again as a vampire in a vampire's term, because they've already bit the collector and said, hey, we have this 2-part box set and it's just in a plain Blu-ray case. Suck the blood. And then they go back and they go, hey, now I got a still box case. Do you want that too? Suck the blood again. It's not going to really get... Yeah, I guess there's a few people that are out there that are going to be like, oh man, I haven't bought my Clannad yet, and now they have a still box. Oh, great, I'm going to buy that. But it is this idea of them almost trying to get as much as they can out of individual popular titles they can, which shows a bit of desperation. And that's where that concern kind of grows. But again, it goes back to just downsizing. They're going to have to eventually stop licensing this obscure stuff. Now, the thing that I think they're doing good right now that I think is probably keeping them afloat is grabbing the titles nobody else will touch. Yeah, as much as people want to joke about it, them getting why the hell you hear Teacher was probably one of the biggest things they could do, because how many people were craving that Blu-ray? Yes, not millions, but enough people that would buy that just to get the uncensored version in their collection. Redo of Healer, yes, as much as everybody wanted to hate on it, meme on it, it's probably going to do really well. And just like with Right Stuff, they're probably going to do really well with that what was it, the Raiding the Monsters, oh gosh, Monster Reviewer or something like that, Inazuka Reviewers or something like that.
Yeah, Inazuka Reviews, it sounds right.
But yeah, that's probably going to do really well with them because of that having that side of people that want to stick it to the censorship is really what it is. But yeah, anyways, to answer your question, yeah, it's technically just they're going to have to downsize this eventually. I think that's a given at this point, unless they have some other plan, which they hopefully do. So Slimes007 also said every season it's basically funny and Crunchyroll getting every license, and Sentai barely gets anything other than other companies pass over like Redo of Healer. That's also why their High Dive service isn't as popular. They have a nice backlog, but they're even losing that, like with Log Horizon going to Funimation. They focus a lot on home media, but that's declining, so I'm not sure if they can just rely on that. It would be sad to lose them unless they start competing again. That's the other thing. It's like we've mentioned it before, but back catalog doesn't really do well. Like, yeah, we technically had a few minutes ago somebody asking about titles that were back in 2010, but that's a rare thing. I mean, you do technically have a few people that will just enter the anime sphere and they go, hey guys, what's up? Any good anime? And then somebody will say, yeah, go watch Clannad. And then bam, they get that one view. But it's not like, yeah, Hero Academia every end of every week that everybody is jumping onto Crunchyroll, millions of people jumping on Crunchyroll to watch the latest Hero Academia. You're talking about one person in a week going to watch an old show. That's not a viewership that technically can keep something afloat. But it is nice for somebody that is just new coming to the anime sphere to go, oh, cool, let me fire up a High Dive account and watch a few of these shows that are on their service. It's not a sustaining thing, unfortunately. The old gets left behind very quickly. The old is not a sustaining platform unless you can market it well, unless you have those big titles that they technically do have, but it can only keep you afloat for so long, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of there's got to be a better way of doing this, and unfortunately, because we live in a quote unquote a la carte world where everything is at our fingertips, and figuring out a way
except for sanity.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Figuring out how to break the system and still keep things in the system at the same time until we figure out a way to do that. It's going to keep going the way that we're at, where stuff is just not available, like Katana Gatari. We can scream until our faces are blue and say, hey, this is a great show, But when it comes down to it, you got one guaranteed sale here. We're not going to buy two copies of the same show for the same house, but
if they came to me and said we're not going to release it unless you buy 2 copies, I will buy 2 copies.
Okay, we can do that.
Unless it's one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, Anime Ego decides, hey, we're going to do a Blu-ray release of it. Back this and it costs this much. I'll do it.
But when it comes down to it,
what is that going for right now? Sorry, continue.
It's never going to be something where you're going to. The company wants 10,000 copies to sell for sure. And that's the problem. You cannot guarantee. That's why I was saying until they figure out a way to do anime to order, where one person says, I want a collector's version of this, and they can box up and make a collector's edition right then and there, it's never going to happen. And that's the problem. As much as I hate it.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, coming from a perspective of somebody that used to do procurement, it's implausible just because of, in order to get priced down on individual things, you have to bulk.
Yep.
And that's why they do go, hey, like the Escaflowne. What I can guarantee you what happened was they went through and they said, we're going to need a box, we're going to need a label to go on the box, we're going to need the discs, we're going to need the cases. How much will it cost to put all these together? Oh, it costs that much. Okay, well, what if we bought this much of it? Oh, it costs that. Okay, we can do that because that'll bring it down to what people expect to pay for a box set. And so they said, we need to get this many buys because they essentially needed to get a company to produce the labels and everything, and that was the only way to get it to that price that was beneficial to them. That was the whole thing that we thought was huge back in the day was, you can label your own discs. Like your CD-ROMs, you could print out a label and stick it on there. It looked like crap and it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
So having it professionally done with a company that does, proper true labels and prints is important, especially if you want it to last a long time. And unfortunately, right now there really isn't a thing like that. Yes, they've got it to a point where they can mass produce CDs pretty well and print on a low amount, but it's still like everything else, having a good print and label and everything like that costs money, and having somebody do that and having a system that puts that together, which I think is a big thing with things like Anime Ego. He's obviously figured it out because he has this stuff at a low quantity that he's able to sell. The unfortunate thing is, if you miss it, it's good luck finding it. But
and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not, or I'm not saying it's feasible to do it. I'm saying that's the problem, is it's not feasible. Once somebody figures that out, that guy's the next billionaire. I mean, because that person, if he can get and that's what I was saying about when we were talking to Julian a while back. The person who can come up with the system that decentralizes this, our system in general, the person who figures out how to do that, that's the person who's going to break not just the anime industry, they're going to break everything, because you will shift the control of everything from the gatekeepers of Funimation, Crunchyroll, whatever, and shift it back to the users. And if you can get the control back to them, the entire industry will be flipped upside down right then and there.
Like, nobody even has a Blu-ray available for Katana Gatari right now. At least on eBay, anyways. Slimes007 says, my second question has been more recent in the making. What do you think about the whole Seven Seas translation censorship that's been going on recently? This can be broadened to the whole having translations, but not knowing if they're accurate or not. We just have to trust the publisher that the translation is more accurate. I looked into this quite a while back when I first put this back into the outline, so I'm a little bit hazy on everything that was in there. But yeah, this stuff is kind of concerning, very concerning. I mean, one of them was very, very concerning, and it was, I think, the one that was in... he had one that was from Classroom of the Elite, one that was from... There was two from Classroom of the Elite. One was My Love with the Villainess. I think that was the one that I thought was like, wow, really? Essentially, not to get demonetized, because obviously it's touching on a very touchy subject, but it's essentially the character was like poking fun at somebody for their preferences, and they didn't seem like they were very sympathetic about it, and so they decided to change it to just basically not include the context of it, which is kind of, yeah, I don't. It technically hits on the idea of the censorship that we don't like. Like I mentioned in my video when we were talking about the Tokyo Revenger things, where it's like, I understand when it's nudity. I mean, I would like not to have it there, but I do understand the idea that, one, it's for marketing reasons, and two, it's because it's aired on television. They give the same version there. Buy the Blu-ray if you want it. It's a necessity for them to make money, obviously, especially for the studio. On the other hand, when it comes to something like this, where it is changing the context of the original artist's intent, I can't forgive it. I don't like it. So yeah, knowing this, I don't want to buy from Seven Seas with this particular case. Now, if they had something else where they kept it, closer to the source, I want to support that, so that they see that, versus supporting this where it essentially is changing the entire context. And it's funny because it doesn't even seem like it's that bad of a context. Like, the original context doesn't seem bad. But again, it goes back to that whole thing about maybe them being afraid, again, of the West really overblowing it. And that's the worst censorship, is the I need to avoid this outrage. Because where does it stop is the problem. Where does it stop? What's the next thing that you're going to go, well, this line, the guy basically punches the other guy. Might have to censor that. Somebody might not really like the fact that person punched that person. Just put that he waved him away.
Well, and this is
like, where does it stop?
This is what we've been talking about. It's why we are so rigid on this original artist intent is because of this crap. Because it does not stop. It's a bad
road to go down.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. You justify it once, fine. Okay, we justify it on Dragon Maid, whatever. Then the next time it comes up and we say something then, and then we're overblowing things. And then the next time it pops up, we're overblowing it even more. At what point do we stop doing this? We want the original artist intent. We do not want somebody else's intent.
It was funny because when I made my Censorship of Tokyo Revengers video recently, I got a comment where somebody was like, when I seen this, I was afraid this video is going to be overblown. It's like, it's sad that, again, that was kind of the point that I made in the video, where I think when people misjudge where to throw the frustration to, it muddles the message. And to be very clear about what you're upset about is important. Keeping a level head is important, because when you go to 7Cs and you say, I don't like you're changing this, it's better to go with a level head and explain to them why you think it's wrong that they do that, rather than just to say, you people are censoring everything, you guys are terrible people, because then who are they going to listen to more? They're going to listen to the people that seem like they're level-headed to their viewpoint about changing something, versus just the people that are just crazy and just yelling at you. So it is important. I think it is important that people do make this comparison that you linked. I like these, because these are very clear about what is being changed, and not necessarily saying that somebody is a terrible person for changing it, or they're, not to get political about it, but leaning a certain political viewpoint. It's just to say this has been changed and it's not what it originally was. And that's all you need to know. This is technically all you need to know, because it's still unfortunate, no matter how minuscule it is. It's like the whole phrasing. I don't know if it's a phrasing, but it's the whole viewpoint of a comma changes everything. A simple comma can change the context to a sentence. That's how incredibly, I guess, fragile the human languages are. and granted, a comma isn't technically the same in another language it isn't for English, but English is an easy one for us to go by because, as you could tell, we're speaking English. But a comma can change so much context to a sentence, it's not even funny. So to change something even more than just a comma is unacceptable, in my opinion. It shouldn't be done. Because, again, the original writer did this, and you're saying, let's do this instead. Which I wonder sometimes if it's allowed by the original creator, or if it's them taking liberties, or maybe that when they did buy the license, they put something in the clause that if we see something unacceptable for our group, which I can totally see them doing, especially this day and age, was it allowed or was it forced is another big question that you didn't end up having in the end. So, sorry, I'm going on a long tangent.
Well, and the one time that I actually got into a kind of solid argument for the other side, it was, well, it's an artwork to do the translation, and that's why I got so frustrated in that statement, because it was like,
see that
I do agree that there is an art form in relaying the intent and making it make sense. I get that. I really
you do not want a straight translation.
Exactly.
Nobody wants that. You're not going to understand a damn thing.
Yeah, well, I've actually taken because it was part of the process of learning how to understand Japanese, and it was like, I can see that. I mean, our sentence structure has a very rigid way of working, and pretty much any other language, they're like free willy, whatever, this, and then it's like noun, verb, and it's like, if you were to directly translate that, it would be dog, carpet, sit. And it's like, okay, that makes no sense whatsoever. Is the carpet sitting on top of the dog? I mean, is the car, rolling over there? So
that's why I always laugh about how we structure descriptions. I don't think there's another language that describes things before it says what it is.
Yeah.
We always say big, yellow, and your mind's going, okay, you're making you have an outline of something big, and then you have a big yellow thing, and then you finally find out it's a bus. It's like no other language does that.
So when you're actually translating, I do get the fact that there is a level of artistry involved in it. However, my biggest beef, and this is why I've always said artist intent should trump all, because if you go with the secondary artist over the primary artist, you're saying that this artist is more important than the original intent. The original art should never, ever, ever be overshadowed by somebody else's interpretation of that art. You're breaking everything.
I just realized that technically Japan does that too. Kuroneko. I immediately thought of Kuroneko. I'm like, oh, never mind. Dang it. Japan does it too. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I hate my mind immediately says this isn't that bad, but that's a really bad thing to say. To say that this isn't bad is like excusing something that will turn something bad eventually.
And this is why I've
Rocky Road.
I've tried very hard to be very consistent about this from the very get-go up until now. My stance has not changed. Original artist intent, make as little changes as possible. That way nobody is upset. If you're upset at the artist, not the translator. This is an important key distinction. If you change something, then the frustration goes on to the translator. If you do not change anything and you stay as true to the original intent as possible, then the original artist is the one that is causing the problem.
And you know the problem behind that? Money.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid of losing money. That's all they think about. Grealish chimes in, says, I have this weird problem where I can't drop an anime once I start watching it. Well, then don't pick it up. I'm currently 41 episodes into the new 2020 Digimon show, and I can't stand it. I just started One Piece this year, too. I'm already up to date on the manga. I said I'll watch at least one episode a day, so I'm around 3 years I'll be caught up. I'm a masochist. Anyways, not so much a question, but more a comment. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Moving on.
That's not a bad system. I've wanted to do that with One Piece quite a few times. No, I binged the fire out of Fairy Tail. I thought there was a
long show that you did that with.
I think I was planning on doing that with One Piece.
I think everybody is planning on doing that with One Piece, and they never do.
I got through about 2 or a season and a half of One Piece, and then and then I got sidetracked.
Bold statement here. I don't think I will ever watch One Piece.
Really?
One, that one is too daunting. Two, it is not my favorite art style at all. I think, and again, this is probably going to be some heat, and I'm sorry, I don't like the character designs at all. None of them.
I don't think anybody likes the character designs.
Don't say that.
I'm sure that there's one person that's going to
email Chris@talktospirit.com. That doesn't exist. Don't actually email that, but yeah.
I actually, that one was the one that I was like, okay, when we were talking about the idea of doing the quote unquote shonen cast, which is Fairy Tail is the one that's on the block right now. That one was the one that we were both like,
yeah, the priority list and it's way down here.
That's way down at the bottom of the list.
We're like, we need to rewatch. Yeah, let's see. What's our list? Let's see. We got Fairy Tail, Bleach. Let's just rewatch Dragon Ball Z. Let's rewatch everything, and then One Piece at the bottom.
One Piece at the bottom.
It's like we're gonna rewatch everything before we watch One Piece. And again, I'm sure it is a fantastic story, and the investments and everything like that.
Well,
I fully agree. Character moments are going to be fantastic. Just one daunting, and
it's absolutely the fully on. We both acknowledge it's purely because of how daunting it is. I mean, you're talking about even Dragon Ball Z is only like 300 episodes. I mean, and that's not counting the newer Super added on top of that. It's still only going to be around 400 episodes. Where
Super wasn't very long.
Yeah, I'm giving a lot of leeway on that because full on One Piece is at least 1,000 episodes. At least 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, Gintama goes before it too.
Gintama is one that I definitely want to watch.
Have to. What was the question?
I think it was a comment.
To drop stuff. The inability to drop stuff is weird. I mean, I don't have a problem with that myself. I have more of a problem with it just because of what we do. But if we weren't doing what we do, I'd probably drop a lot of stuff. But a lot of our focus and what has been most rewarding for what we do is finding those gems. And yes, you have to go through a lot of garbage before you can sometimes find gems, but it's so rewarding to find that gem and go, hey guys, you missed this. You should go watch this.
I used to not be able to drop stuff. It wasn't until recently
I remember these podcast episodes that we would do where we would be reviewing a show and he literally says, I don't want to say anything about that show. We go review something and I'm like, yeah, here's this show. It did this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this is what it had, and it did this thing, and then I go, okay, Chris, so what's your thoughts? And he just goes, shakes his head like, I don't want to say anything on it. Just move on. It was like, you watched this whole 24 episode show and you don't even want to say anything about it because he didn't want to say bad things about it. And that's all. Like literally, he does better now. Where even if, we both do better now. Where even if we do despise a show, we still want to talk about it to say, but technically it did this good. This is what it's doing, so you know what it's doing. It technically did this good. Watch it if you want to. But like we used to be pretty bad in the idea of like I literally don't want to talk about it. Just because I have nothing.
Well,
and it's like, but you watched all that show, Chris.
Well, technically, that's how I ended up getting as far into Fairy Tale as I did, because I started Fairy Tale and I ended up going through, 150 episodes at the time, and it was like I had a blast watching it. But at the same time, it was one of those that I had a hard. I think One Piece is actually the reason why I was able to start stopping shows. Because I got, like I said, about a season and a half into it before I ended up cutting that off.
You started watching that?
Yeah.
Ah.
I actually do. It is kind of it starts out a lot like Fairy Tale, where it's like there's stuff going on all over the place, and it's goofy fun. It is just goofy fun, and I can see why people love it. I've seen a couple of good character moments in there too.
Do I have a fairy cast in our unposted folder? I'm going to feel really bad if I have a fairy cast in our unposted video folder. I don't know. This says we have it marked as 12. What is our last fairy cast that we posted? I have a fairy cast 12 I haven't posted yet. I should probably post that. I still have to edit and everything. It's not like I just have it sitting there ready to post. I literally have to edit it still. So yeah, it's still raw. I'll get that posted as soon as possible. All the people that requested Fairycast. It was like right the moment that I had the move and everything. So
we still have. I'm sorry. We still have.
I apologize.
We still have Fairy Tale 0, and then the last 2 arcs?
Or I thought it was only 1 arc after that. Because it went Fairycast 0, and then I think it went immediately into Fairycast Final, wasn't it? Or Fairy Tale Final, sorry.
Yeah, I know that we're real close to the end. So we should be getting ready to finish that up. We're literally just
starting 0.
And yeah, we're finishing that up, and then we're moving on to something else. We don't know yet. I think it's Andrew's Choice is next, right?
Yes. And I think Gintama.
Okay.
Or Bleach. I think I was saying Bleach before, but I'm gonna call Gintama a shonen just to watch it.
Well, no, we consider that a shonen. It's Gintama and I wanted to do Bleach. I really want to do Bleach. I want to finally put that one to bed.
Oh, 0 was a different listing on Crunchyroll, huh?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so separate.
Fairy Tail season 2. We just they put 0 in season 2. So yeah, we have 0. And then Final. Shoot, is that close to finishing it?
Mm-hmm.
What was that 4 times about 40, 50 episodes? And then in Fairy Tail 0 is about 12, I think.
Yeah.
Dang, we're like 60 episodes until we're done.
I can't wait to watch.
Then we're going to lose all of our Fairycast listeners. See, now we can't finish it. Because everybody listening just to wait for us to release a Fairycast episode will leave.
No, we've been stringing them along for 3 years. Let's go ahead and let them be done with us.
I have a lot of fun with that though, but so that'll be fun to get back to. Again, I technically have a Fairycast to post. So if that was the 12th and I have 11 posted, Fairycast, why did I keep misspelling that? I'm trying to type Fairy Tale while I'm testing Fairycast. Fairycast? Fairy Tale. My brain is breaking. I'm sorry. So yeah, that was the 11th that we released was up to episode 233, and the 12th that we have recorded would go up to, I don't know, because this is reset numbers. Essentially second season up to episode 90. So yeah. So it'd be 90 plus 175. So there you go. Cool stuff. So that pretty much answers the next 3 questions, I think. Let's see. Grealish also said, anyways, not so much a question or comment. Please keep it the work. Thank you so much for your question and your support. Joe Durusa, sorry if I'm butchering that, says, hi guys, I was thinking how in the past we have seen various booms such as mecha, magical girl, isekai anime. Are there any anime genres or subgenres that you think could or should have been more successful? Are there any that you think you might see a boom in the future? Thanks. Love your podcast. Thanks so much. I think we answered this like a couple of discussions ago, but essentially I was joking about I think the teasing girl genre is going to boom.
Yeah, that's randomly becoming a thing. I actually was going to, I think that he's kind of putting a different spin on this, more along the lines of a boom that should have happened that didn't happen. Not necessarily in the future do we see a boom of this, just a boom that could have happened, didn't. I think that artsies are the ones that should do a bit more, that for whatever reason they never quite hit. And when I'm talking about artsy, it's usually they're the ones that we go, okay, this is so and so, he's doing this, and it's such a fascinating thing, and I wish we could get more from this person. Or I automatically think of my artist that I kind of wish he would take off a lot more. And we had that
artist or character designer,
or artsy type shows, like automatically Penguin Drum Guy, he comes to mind, but when he comes out, he just does his own thing. So but I kind of wish artsy stuff, I mean, yeah, we pointed that Noitamina Block is kind of the place where a lot of that stuff happens, but even that stuff tends to get overshadowed by just mainstream artists that kind of take over that block a lot of times. It's not,
they do a lot of licensed stuff too. It doesn't just stick to just artsy stuff.
What was the one that we had a couple of seasons ago, where now it's more like a couple of years ago? The one where it was kind of the two girls who kept going into the alternate world.
Flip flappers,
stuff like that. And
18IF.
Yeah,
it's like even like 18IF, even though it was like not well received, and yes, it technically was kind of crummy in certain cases. It was one of those ones where you had different artists kind of doing something different. Space Dandy, that was why that was so huge. It had different artists doing each episode, doing their own incredible things. Those are always fun little kind of art houses.
Yeah, the one that I was thinking of also was Punchline was another one where it things that break the mold, that not necessarily have to be doing something. I mean, yeah, we've got like Robot Carnival and stuff like that where they've actually have an art forum, but I want
like the Project Mirai, was it called? Where they had the Little Witch Academia and Death Billiards were part of that.
But not necessarily just the new and upcoming, because that's where a lot of them where they get to
basically an art
show
competition.
Yeah, they get to show off there. But I want to see the old seasoned artists just go nuts and have an actual, not necessarily a forum, but just give them full reign to go crazy and do what they want to do.
I think some of them get to do that kind of stuff. I think it's unfortunate. Some cases it's just money, and so they do the license stuff.
Yeah.
That's just very kind of, okay, well, that's very basic story. You have the structure. You have to go, it's going to be about this slice of life, so don't do anything crazy. I know you do crazy stuff, but stick to the script. Stick to the script.
And that's one of the nice things about Shaft. When Shaft gets to go crazy, they get nuts, and it's. I love to see them flexing their skills. I really do.
Well, it's like Trigger. As much as I have my issues with Trigger storylines, and sometimes when they do try to hide repeated animations, they do really incredible stuff with the directorial work. I mean, even with Dynazenom right now, having some of these shots are just really cool. Like they do that vantage point very well, and it kind of is, again, where even though I have my issues with a lot of their stories and stuff, they still impress me every single time. So. Yeah, I guess to answer the question on the idea of specifically things that should have been more successful, I guess just really the thriller market is something that has had its times with specific shows, but we've never really had a season of it. Like we never had like a period of time where every season you have nothing but thriller shows all over the place. You have had seasons where there's mecha shows everywhere, magical girl episodes everywhere, and isekais, especially right now, club shows that we've mentioned before, but we've never had a boom of thrillers, and that's always sucked. Which I guess is a good thing because we don't have too much of, it's kind of like a be careful what you wish for kind of thing, because there is fatigue, and you don't really technically want nothing but one type of show to be in a season, but I would like more solid thriller shows. I would like more Paranoia Agent, more Another is kind of a thriller, it's more horror, but you get what I mean. But yeah.
More economy shows.
What?
More economy shows.
Yeah, more Spice and Wolf.
More Spice and Wolf and
just more Spice. Well, yeah, we need a boom of Spice and Wolf. Can we do that? just do that. Thanks, Joe, for the question. Let's get one more because we didn't talk about any of these Fairy Cast questions that I talked about. Lane Hawley says, "Hello, I'm a huge fan of Fairy Tail, and since I've caught up with it where you left off in the Fairy Cast, I was wondering if you're planning on doing more." Look, people are actually just waiting for us to finish the show before they watch more. That's incredibly awesome. Thank you so much. It means a lot, but I feel really bad now. It says, out of all the Fairy Tale podcasts, I found this one seemed the most entertaining. Stop. Anyways, thanks for doing it.
There's more than us doing Fairy Tale.
From Lane Baccarat. I hope I'm saying that right now. Sorry. But thank you so much. That means a lot. I feel really bad now. But yes, I'll get the 12th one up ASAP, and we'll get back on it as soon as everything gets caught up. So I think the only thing that's gonna put a hole on it for a little bit, at least a week, anyways, is I have to watch Emma. I got a review copy of Emma, and that needs to be watched. So I don't know if that's gonna be something you want to watch as well. One? That's a Victorian.
You talking
romance
Frills?
One?
Are you talking Frills?
It's a Victorian romance anime. Yeah, this one with the Emma lady. And she's like a maid or something, and then romance with
Emma looks like like she's from
not this Emma, this Emma, not the Emma from Promised Neverland. Why is it nothing but Emma from Promised Neverland? Emma Victorian romance anime. Jeez, I have to type all that, otherwise I get Promised Neverland everywhere. But yeah, I'll be having to watch that. It's only 2 cours though, which I thought was longer than that, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to, but because I'm seeing possible a little bit of Frills, but I don't know. 2 cours is a lot of show.
At least it's not 50 anime, 50 episodes right? Like every Gundam. We haven't had a Gundam in a long time. I think they're done with that.
We'll see.
But yeah. Thanks again, Lane. I'm sorry. Sorry to all of our Fairy Cast questions that have been sent to us. Like I have still there's let's see. No, I just moved the wrong one. That's what happened. Let's see, one question about Fairy Cast. Oh wait, maybe that wasn't. No, I guess that's the only other one I have. Okay, we're good.
Send in more questions.
Oh, it's because the same person sent it twice. That's why I thought I had 3 of them. Thanks, Lane. I see what you did there. Acting like more than one person. Cheater. Anyways. That is it. So we still have 3 more questions. We didn't use all of our questions. That's a good thing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all those questions and all the crazy interesting conversations we had from them. We appreciate everybody who sends us questions. Really do appreciate it. And knowing that we now only have 3 questions, that means that people can start sending more. And know that we will definitely get around to it really quickly. Well, technically, that last one was April, so we're not too far behind. We're getting caught up. Slowly. I think the worst one out of all of them was January, so yeah, we're not too far behind. But yeah, thanks as always for everybody who sends in the questions. We really do appreciate it. It gives us content, and we love talking about what you guys want us to talk about. So it's like you control us. It's like you're the puppet master. That's good. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this mailbag episode. Again, I think the next one we'll get a discussional. Hopefully after that we will do a topic podcast episode. It depends. I think because the previews for the next season will be mid next month, so I think we technically have an extra week to work with. So we'll start brainstorming an idea for a topic episode. I have a couple of possibilities, but we'll see. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this episode. And as always, we thank everybody for support. Definitely our Patreon supporters is definitely appreciated. Anybody who goes to our YouTube channel, Otaku Spirit Anime, is definitely appreciated as well. And just spreading the word, telling other people about us. That's technically how the podcast grew to what it was, is people just talking, nice people talking about us. Nice men and women.
Are you saying that I'm not the evil, invisible hand behind us?
No, it's the questions.
Ah.
Yeah, we hope you all enjoy, and you'll take care.
Os.